What's good, y'all? So, day one is in the books. It's already day two. The morning session is kind of going on. I'm recording this like right before the 100-meter hurdles for the women's go off. But I wanted to just do a quick reflection on the 100 meters for both the men and the women, the heats that happened, preview the semifinals very quickly, and then also talk about the mixed 4x4, also the women's long jump, and just some things that we did see. But just a quick reflection on the men's 100 meters first, where for context, I'm in the stadium, so I get to be in the stands, and then I also go downstairs like track level past where the athletes run to be able to do interviews with them. Check those out on the Citius Mag YouTube channel. Also check out the post-race show that we did on Citius Mag as well. So I'm kind of like watching the races, and then I'm going back down to talk to the athletes, or I'm just like having the conversations with the athletes. So I'll be completely honest. I say that to say I didn't truly appreciate what Letsile Teboho did in the 100-meter heats. He ran 10.07 seconds and looked very, very comfortable. Very comfortable. And this is an example of why an athlete and their 2025 season may not truly be fully indicative of what they do at the championships. I know that I, of course, do predictions based on what occurs through the year, but that's the only data I have. Yes, I know that athletes will show up when it counts, but it's hard to kind of like, truly put that into words or expectations or whatever it may be, right? So I say that all to say, Letsile Teboho had an excellent heat, and I think he is a true contender for, of course, the final. I already had him making the final, but who knows? He might really show up. He's a silver medalist from 2023. So he's someone that I definitely did overlook a little bit. But also, Noah Lyles, I still do take the fact that he had a great heat. He ran 9.95 seconds into a negative 1.1 meter per second headwind. Like, compare that to Kishane Thompson, who I still have as a favorite, not changing my picks, but Kishane ran 9.95 seconds with a, I think it was essentially negligible. I think it was 0.1, tailwind or whatever it was. So Noah Lyles looked excellent. He looked very, very good. And in my opinion, between Noah, Letsile, they probably looked the two best coming out of the heats for the men. But then Oblique Seville also looked, the thing is, Oblique Seville just had a bad start, but him running 9.93 seconds proves that he is in excellent form. Excellent form. Check out the interview we did with him on the Citius Mag YouTube channel where, he just said that, he thought the heats were going to be a little bit slower or whatever it is. But he just has to make sure he manages those rounds. That's the problem for Oblique. We'll see if that actually happens. But shout out to Letsile Teboho. Shout out to GIF, for getting the 9.87. Got a chance to interview him. All the guys who showed up. On the women's side, Daryl Nita, 10.94 seconds. 10.94 seconds after not having a great year. She just hasn't been showing up this year between setbacks, between, coaching changes. All those things factored into, the relatively poor 2025 that she's had. But she's an athlete who has been at championships and knows how to show up when it counts. So shout out to Daryl Nita. Similar situation for Sha'carri Richardson and Shericka Jackson, where both of them on paper haven't been having the most amazing 2025 seasons, specifically Sha'carri Richardson, but this is a championship. Sha'carri Richardson is a defending world champion, and she had a wild card to the world champs. So she is preparing for here. And yes, she, ran 11.03. She won the heat, but she looks like she's going to be progressing through the rounds. Shericka Jackson, again, I know a lot of y'all probably are coming at me, but like, she showed up. She let up in the second half of the race a little bit, right? So I think she's in some good form. All of this just to say, similar to Salud, all this is to say that these women, these men, they are consummate performers when it comes to championships, and they are professionals. They know what to do. So sometimes we may say that they're not having a great season, but then when they come to a championships, they know how to perform and peak at the right time. Obviously, everyone still has to manage themselves through the rounds, so we'll see how that does go when we get to tonight with the semifinals. And kind of quick reflection on this, because the semifinals are stacked. First on the women's side. The first heat of the semifinals is absolutely insane. Look at the names that we have here. We have Kayla White. We have Marie-Josée Talu-Smith. We have Daryl Nita. We have Sha'carri Richardson. We have Shericka Jackson. Going into the semifinals to get to the final, it's only top two in each heat, and then the next two fastest times. By far, if you're just going on chalk, you would expect the time qualifiers to come out of this heat. Because again, Kayla White, Talu-Smith, Nita, you have Richardson, you have Jackson, all in this heat. So I'm not sure. Based on what we saw in the heats, I would possibly guess, Talu and Daryl Nita probably had the best times on paper, but then like, I don't know, Sha'carri and Sharika, they looked good to me. So it's really tricky to say who's going to actually make it through. But then you look at the next semifinal, right? This is an easy race for Julian Alfred. Let's be clear. Shout out to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Probably my favorite athlete here. But I think that Julian Alfred has a smooth path because it's only really Shelly-Ann and Amy Hunt. Those are probably her top two competitors. Shout out to Zoe Hobbs. She's run sub-11 this year. Iwa Soboda in the past, she's been last year in the 2023, she's been good. But for the most part, this is going to be an easy heat for Julian Alfred. And then I expect Shelly-Ann to be able to get through. Amy Hunt is probably the one in this heat that might be able to. And then actually, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting TC Terry. TC Terry. Okay, so this makes it tricky. But I do think that if I was to put money on this, I'm not going to put money on this, let me say. Julian Alfred, of course, is going to win the heat. And then you have Shelly-Ann and TT Terry. I think they'll probably be battling it out for the next two spots. Finally, the last semifinal for the women. Here is where you have Melissa Jefferson-Wooden and Tina Clinton, as well as Dina Asher-Smith. And then you have Zainab Doso, you have Thelma Davies. Again, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, clear path to the final here for her. Tina Clinton, I think she should be pretty safe in this case as well. But then Dina Asher-Smith, I think Dina has to step things up because if the first semifinal goes crazy, the one with Sharika and Sha'carri and Daryl and Marie and Kayla, if that goes crazy, then it's very likely that Dina could be on the outside looking in, or she'll have to run extremely fast to make sure that she can get a time qualifying spot. Because I don't think she's not beating Melissa, and I don't think she's beating Tina in this heat. So we'll see how that does play out. On the men's side, kind of stacked. This is stacked. All right, let's see. Heat 1 of the men's semifinals. You have Akeem Blake, Noah Lyles, they just raced. You have Akani Simbine, you have Kanisoya Ajayi, and then you have Jeremiah Azu. All right, Lamont Marcel Jacobs, shout out to him. I don't think he's going to be, a strong factor, but this is a semifinal for Noah Lyles. And then it gets very tricky because do we see Ajayi go out guns blazing like he did in the heats and run 988 again, right? Do we see Akani Simbine go crazy where he's like, all right, I got to make sure that I secure my spot? Do we see Akeem Blake, who hasn't made a final ever in his career, 2022 and 2024, he's missed the finals. Does he kind of go all out? This does get a little tricky, but I think that Noah Lyles is in the driver's seat for this semifinal, and then we're going to see how other guys play it out. But next one, we do have Kishane Thompson, you have Zarno Hughes, you have Kenny B, you also have Jerome Blake. You got a lot of guys, and my bad, it's a little hot and sunny out here, but we rocking with it. But this one is pretty interesting, right? Because you got Kishane Thompson, who's, in my opinion, the clear favorite in this semi. He's racing against Kenny B and Zarno Hughes, who I think those two will probably be the guys who will be fighting for that second spot. It'll be interesting dynamics, but could someone kind of could someone try and take advantage and push Kishane Thompson to the line, maybe rattle him a little bit? Who knows? But you also have Jerome Blake, shout out to him. I think he's a fringe potential, finalist, so we'll see how that plays out. But interesting semifinal. And then finally, you have Letsila Toboho. You have Abdul Rashid Saminu. Shout out to him. I know a lot of y'all were like, listen, I actually spoke with him. Fence, from Ghana. He's going to put the interview up. But shout out to Abdul Rashid Saminu. And then you have GIF. GIF is in the semifinal as well. And he, has been, he just dropped 987. Does he go guns blazing again? This is interesting. This one, the men's semifinals are pretty interesting across the board, and the dynamics of who has to show up, who's going to get an auto qualifying spot, who's going to get a time qualifier, that's going to be, come into play really heavily when we talk about these semis on both the men's and the women's side. So we'll see how that does play out. Finally, let me talk quickly about the mixed 4x4 and the long jump. Mixed 4x4. This was, a pretty chalk race. Let me not say it was super chalk, but the United States, they were able to get the win running, I think it was 30, what was it? 30, let me make sure I can get this right. 308.80. So championship record, not a world record, not anything too wild, but shout out to Bryce Stedman, Lena Irby-Jackson, Janelle McKeever, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Shout out to you, my man, and then Alexis Holmes. So a couple things is that Bryce Stedman, he's essentially he's just racking up medals when it comes to these relays. From 2021 at the Olympics, from 2022 at USA's, from 2024 at the USA's. World Championships was in the USA. 2024 at the Olympics. He's been a mainstay on these relays, and he just gets another gold medal. It's hot out here in Japan, yeah. So shout out to Bryce Stedman, my man, always showing up. Lena Irby-Jackson, second leg, 49.18 seconds, and that was the fastest split for any woman out of all of the mixed 4x4s during yesterday's session. Lena Irby-Jackson just missed making the team in the 400, but she shows up here. She's going to be probably on that open 4x4 relay, probably the prelims, but we'll see if she does get into final as well, but she's going to be in that mix. And then you have Genoa McKeever, where he was able to split 43.91 seconds. 43.91 seconds, the fastest split for a male athlete in the mixed 4x4, and he is a newcomer when it comes to these 4x4s. I think this is his first international team at Worlds or Olympics when it comes to 4x4, and he showed up, splitting 43 seconds. Big performance for Genoa, and he has a hopefully bright future. I want to see him hopefully, really get more experience on the biggest stages, get more experience competing against some of the best guys in the world, and hopefully translate that one day into an individual spot at the Worlds or the Olympic Games. And then finally, Alexis Holmes. Think about this with Alexis Holmes. She anchored the USA for mixed 4x4 in 2023. She anchored the USA's 4x4, open 4x4 to an American record in 2024 at the Olympics, and now she just anchored the mixed 4x4 to a gold medal at the at these World Championships here in Tokyo, Japan. Alexis Holmes might be that anchor. She might be that anchor that, listen, everyone is looking for when it comes to the United States. And I know that we like to play the different situations where it's like, oh, this athlete should anchor, the fastest one should anchor. I mean, we saw what Alexis did on the 4x4 at the Olympic Games last year when they broke the American record, running solo, which is not easy. She did the same thing here. Running solo, she was able to get the win, secure the win, run strong enough, nothing too fast, 50-second split for Alexis, but really strong performance overall for the USA's mixed 4x4. The Netherlands, when Femke Bol got the baton on the anchor leg, they were relatively far behind, right? And Femke just wasn't able to make up enough ground to be able to get the gold medal like she had done in previous years. The interesting thing about Femke is she, quote unquote, only split 50.06 seconds, if these splits are correct, right? I don't know what this fully tells me. Does it say that maybe she realized that she was so far behind and she didn't want to, put out so much energy to try and actually win the race? Does it mean that she's not in the greatest of shape that she would have liked and wasn't able to split 49 or 48 like she usually does? Or does it mean that it's like, I don't know, it's just a normal race? I don't know what it exactly means, but I'll say this. I'm not too worried about Femke going into the 400-meter hurdles. She's still the clear favorite. She's still, probably going to get the gold medal and all that, but just something to take into consideration based on what we've seen in previous years where she's always been able to run down, for the gold medal. Obviously, 2023, she did fall in the final, so that's something that was really interesting. Final thing I do want to note is just the qualification round in the women's long jump where Tara Davis-Woodhall, one and done, 6.88 meters to get an auto qualifying mark into the final. You also saw Claire Bryant. She was able to qualify through. Malika Mihambo. I think for the most part, the main players were able to qualify through, except Larissa Yapachino. Unfortunately, she only jumped 6.5 meters, was unable to get a qualifying spot into the final. That was devastating because this is what I say when it's like an athletes show up for the World Championships, but then it's so hard to make predictions because of expectations, right? Or I'm sorry, things are just going to change, right? We can never make full-on predictions. Larissa Yapachino, she's been having an amazing 2025 season. Not amazing, but a really good season. She's jumped 7 meters already, but she didn't show up here. And in 2023, I actually think Larissa Yapachino was one of the favorites for a medal going into Budapest. She didn't medal. 2024, I thought she was also one of the favorites for a medal. She didn't medal. Now here in 2025, once again, she missed making the final. Forget even being in the final and missing a medal. She missed making the final. So it's just tough to see. And this is why I say, going back to predictions, we can make predictions all day about everything, and I make predictions based on what has occurred in the season, what has occurred in previous years and things like that. But sometimes when it gets to the championships, certain things just happen that we cannot predict. So this is an example of that. But overall, excited for today. By the time you're watching this, maybe the semis are going off, or maybe you're watching the 100-meter hurdles, whatever it is. But we are at day 2. Just talked about day 1, reflecting on it. It is hot here in Japan. Athletes, keep yourselves healthy. T-Mars McCallum, I think he cramped up. I don't know, but listen, keep yourselves healthy, keep yourselves hydrated, and this is going to be a good championships. We're rolling through. But let me know what y'all think. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.